was set.
Very pleasing to get out of here with a win, I'm sure, at any time, Chris, but particularly under such rough conditions.
Yeah, I mean, it always is. It's we've got a lot of respect for the opposition, and we prepared for their best. I don't think they're going as badly as their record suggests. And early in the game, that was the way it was playing out. They were all over us early, and we didn't really adapt to the conditions as well as we expected, because we did forecast that it was likely to be wet, and it's always a bit hard to tell up here. Sometimes there's a big difference between 0 and 15 mils of rain, and it took a long time for the rain to come, but when it did and set in, it's always difficult giving the opposition a bit of a start, which we did, but the way we arrested the momentum in that first quarter really set us up for the rest of the game.
Fags thought you guys adapted and played a much better brand of wet weather footy than they did. Did you see it that way?
I think as the game went on, I didn't feel that was the case early necessarily, and they do have some really clean ball handlers even in the condition, and maybe that encouraged them to handball the ball a little bit more than maybe we did, and I thought they did it to good effect at times, but it was probably more like a Geelong night than a Brisbane night weather-wise.
Tom Stewart, obviously we know he didn't come back on. Like how's he doing, and how did that sort of unfold through at half time?
I wasn't really a part of it. It was really clear at half time that he wasn't coming back on, so we moved on. And it's always I find it really difficult to convey the situation around this stuff. So we'd be really clear if we thought, there's a real concern there, and that there's not. But my opinion on how he's looking shouldn't be valued much at all. But he looked good.
Purely from a football perspective then, Chris, how do you approach next week's game, obviously with Charlie Curnow there and Harry Mackay in great form as well? You've lost one of your best defenders. How will you approach that?
Yeah, some thought will be required, but there's no one that we can replace that's going to be at Tom Stewart's level. But we've been really clear for a long time that we think the best teams will have to use a big squad. Depth's really important, and this tests us a little bit in terms of depth. So as I said, you can't replace your best players like for like, but yeah, clearly Carlton's forward line forces you to think a little bit about how you set up anyway. But look, it's a great opportunity for our younger key backs. And Stuart wouldn't have played on either of those guys anyway. No. But he does help. I completely understand your point. But yeah, look, it's not insurmountable, and we're up for the challenge.
Yeah, it's very much from a team defence point of view rather than necessarily individualising.
Yeah, you're right. And look, even, I guess, Taylor missed today through concussion, so you win some, you lose some. The Blues have got 2 in a row.
What have you learnt in the last? You talked about the squads. I guess squads winning, or going deep into the season. What have you learnt in the last couple of weeks when you've rested a few of your more experienced guys? Well,
the opportunity for some different players to come into our team, and we're in a different position to the one we were in 12 months ago, where we had a lot of injuries and we were forced to kind of manipulate the team a little bit. This year we've got good availability, and besides sort of Dangerfield, who came back tonight, and Guthrie, we've had pretty good availability across the park. So specifically those two mids have given us the chance to, we would have played Jai Clark more last year, but he played one game and hurt his foot. So we're going to sort of manage him a little bit through the year, but he'll play a lot of footy for us. It was great to be able to get him in. He's going to be a good player for us. And the one that's most obvious to me is that Parfitt's taken his opportunity when it just looked like it was going to be difficult to get him in, and it's going to be difficult to get him out now. He's been really good. So we have confidence sort of in our program. Just kind of get it. It's not for everyone, but it's exciting to see that our players are really bought in.
Tanner Bruin has been a big improver for you too in the middle, and it's worth pointing out too that the concern about Geelong from the pundits, I put my hand up here as well, was whether the midfield would be able to step up, and some of those younger boys have come through really well.
Yeah, and I can understand that point of view. No one from our club would have been getting defensive about that analysis. And again, we were so excited about getting Cam Guthrie back here to cracking pre-season. It was flawless, really, and injured himself in the first 15 seconds of the first practice game. And then Dangerfield went out as well. So that question became even more acute. My observation is that it's not just that one guy's kind of stepped up, it's that combination of Clark and Parfitt and Bowes and Bruin. Atkins, he's been around for a little bit longer and is doing a good job for us, but even Toby Conway coming in as a young ruckman. I think every club's aspiring to get a group of players together that can play together for 8 or 10 years. That's how you become a really good team. It's difficult to pull them together quickly, and they do have the privilege of playing with some really experienced guys that give them a little bit more structure than you would if you had 17 young guys in there, even 17 highly talented young players.
Connor seemed to do a job on Neil tonight. Do you think he was pretty effective in that kind of negating?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark would say that the conditions advantage the defensive type player, we just rate Neil so much. And I thought again he was one of those players that I referred to earlier. He was sort of clean at times when it was difficult for other players to be clean, but hard for those mids to be really dominant tonight. But we still thought it was important to have a bit more of a defensive focus on him, and we were happy with O'Connor.
Now that you've got this fast start, 6-0, does that give you a bit more scope to sort of manage those older guys like you've done previously? This helps that, I guess?
It doesn't hurt it, but we don't really think about it that way. And I know it's hard to understand necessarily because we don't explain ourselves, because we don't think that's good policy. We've got some things that we think are important to us internally, and it's not for us to explain to anyone. But what we have been on record as saying is that we tend not to be thinking too much about the win-loss or the opposition. There are other priorities that clearly trump that. But yeah, if you're 0-6, like taking out Hawkins and Cameron would be unlikely.
Thanks.
All right, thanks guys.
Thanks, Chris.